I'm going to get to something that Lowell didn't like about what I did, but I'm going to use this as an example of how you can work to get things done. One of the gateways that opened up, I think, a lot of the productivity in the lame duck was when President Obama agreed to the Republican proposal on the Bush tax cuts, and got a lot of other things too. Now, on the way in there was a vote as to whether we should exclude anybody making $200,000 a year or family making $250 a year from the extension of the Bush tax cuts. I voted against that. Lowell got mad at me. Wrote a long thing in his blog. Some other people were disappointed in that vote. But I want to explain a couple things. First, I put on the table, if you'll talk about economic fairness, I put on the table earlier last year a proposal to put a windfall profits tax on the bonuses of the executives who got bailed out in TARP. I actually got that idea from the Financial Times. It wasn't necessarily
not from Mother
a liberal, yes, not from Mother Jones. The idea was any company, any financial services company that got $5 billion or more out of TARP, you can get your compensation, you can get $400,000. Anything above that, you share with the people who bailed you out. You didn't get back into the plus side by some act of genius if you got $5 billion or more from the federal government during that period. I could not even get a vote on the Senate floor on that proposal. I had Democrats come up to me and saying, you're going to dry up our money, you're going to, Mayor Bloomberg took out a letter against me on it. He also took a letter out against me on the Second Amendment, which is another.
We're all united on that.
Mayor Bloomberg, I know this is pretty much a Democratic group, but I said if Mayor Bloomberg wants to take my gun, he can come to my house and see if he can get it. But I'm saying that because in terms of economic fairness, the biggest difficulty, or the biggest problem we've had is in financial services, in the notion of derivatives trading and these sorts of things. And I've taken a stand that very few other people have taken on that, and I don't regret it. Now, in terms of taxing people whose income is greater than 200 or families with 250, or not allowing them to take part in the extensions of the tax cuts. First of all, I said when I ran, I'm not going to vote to increase taxes on earned income. If you want to go out and work your tail off and earn your income, I don't believe you should increase their taxes on it. Secondly, as we all know here, when this economic downturn hit, there are a lot of people who had a lot of obligations that they had undertaken. Whether it's mortgages on your home or certain investments that you've made, where the money is drying up. And as our economy recovers, I just don't think that's a smart thing to do. I know it's a feel-good thing to do for a lot of Democrats. Bernie Sanders went down on the floor and talked about it, as did some others. But I just didn't think it was a smart thing to do. So when President Obama sat down with the Republicans and worked out this package, I immediately supported it. What we need to do is to get money into the system. It's what we tried to do with the TARP. Get money into the system so that we can recycle these investments, get our economy going again, and your revenues are going to go up. And what he was able to do with this arrangement with Republicans was, all right, we extended the Bush tax cuts, but we also got unemployment extension, which the Republicans fought us on over and over again on pay-go rules. And we got business incentives. We got a 2% reduction in payroll tax. We got business equipment write-offs. We got a lot of things that are going to go out there and stimulate this economy. You stimulate the economy, you're going to get more money. Here's something else Democrats need to think about on the issues like the extension of the Bush tax cuts. Maria Cantwell in Washington made a point when we were having a debate inside caucus on this, and she said it outside, so I feel comfortable talking about this. People don't want their taxes raised. Now, in her state, they had a referendum on increasing state taxes for people who made more than, I think it was $400,000 a year. It got defeated by more than 60% of the vote. You can't tell me 60% of the people in her state make that kind of money. It's just people are tired of this process. They want responsibility in government, and that's what we're trying to do.
Rich.
Yeah. You don't know me. My name is Richard Gray, but my son Tyler worked in your campaign, and I'm sure he'd want me to give a shout out to you, as he would say. My question to you is, and you just touched on it, no one wants their taxes raised, but everybody wants to see the national deficit reduced, which seems to me, just reading from the Post, and when you go down to buy a gallon of gas, you buy a loaf of bread, it seems to me it jeopardizes everybody's future with these multi-trillion-dollar deficits we're running. What realistically can Congress do to reduce this national debt load without either raising taxes or cutting services? Because you end up with this NIMBY philosophy where nobody wants the pet program in their home district cut. Your constituents won't re-elect you if you don't build that bridge in Roanoke or whatever the people in Virginia want. How do we tackle this problem to where it doesn't jeopardize our children's and grandchildren's futures, where they're paying this debt load that frankly we can't sustain ourselves?
Okay, the question or the challenge in my personal view in terms of working our way out of this is, first, let's remember how we got here. The real beginning of how we got here was the way that the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were financed. They were financed above the budget process through supplementary appropriations. The national debt more than doubled during the Bush administration, to more than $10 billion. Then the economy crashed. And once the economy crashed, our challenge, and I remember I was having dinner with the ambassador from Japan when we were getting ready to vote on the TARP program at the very end of September of 08. And one of his strong pieces of advice, having seen what happened with the bubble in Japan in the 1990s, he said, you can't do this stimulus in small pieces. The idea with the stimulus is, as you know, is to get more fluidity into the market so that we can recycle our investments, people make more money, you do more trade, your revenues increase. He said, you can't do this with small portions. He said, the biggest mistake that Japan made was thinking that a small stimulus could get things going, and here they are, 20 years later. Still, they're on their feet, but still trying to really regain their economic, the way they were with their economy before. So the notion was to get money into the system to get the thing going again. And unfortunately, what happened on the TARP program was we put $700 billion in there, and they didn't do what they said they were going to do. The financial institutions, they held on to the money, they recapitalized, they took care of their people, and the money didn't go down into where they were conducting the loans and we were rehiring and this sort of thing. So, number one, you can cut back in terms of government spending. I spent 4 years on the Defense Resources Board as Assistant Secretary of Defense and Secretary of the Navy when the Graham-Rudman programs came in. Graham-Rudman legislation mandated a 5% reduction in all federal programs back in 1987, 1988. And since half those programs were fenced as entitlement programs, that meant 10% reductions in actual budgets. I'm not recommending that heavy of a cut right now, but people found the money. What you got to do is tell them they got to find the money, and they'll find the money. So you can reduce federal spending in a responsible way without affecting our national security and the well-being of the people who need to be taken care of.